So what is a masterpiece? A work of outstanding artistry, skill, or workmanship. Now, I know some fragrances that I think are absolute masterpieces. The compositions of these fragrances, nothing short of genius. So much so that they set this unstoppable trend. And then there are other masterpieces that are just flying under the radar. So let's find out what they are. Hi my lovely people, welcome back to another fabulous fragrance video. In this video, I want to share with you in my 400 plus collection, the only fragrances that I consider to be masterpieces for various reasons, but mainly because they're just absolutely outstanding. Genius. The compositions were basically groundbreaking when they came out. Many of these set such an unstoppable trend that there are hundreds, if not thousands, of copies or dupes or I don't know, other fragrances that are made to smell like them. I'm not gonna just tell you that these are masterpieces. Oh, in my opinion, here they are. No. I'm going to explain to you why they're masterpieces and why they're genius. Why the perfumers that made these compositions are absolute geniuses. Why, what makes them such masterpieces. I'm not just gonna, list off a bunch of fragrances and call them masterpieces. So the first one I'm going to share with you is an absolute masterpiece. Not because it's, widely hyped. It should be. This is an absolutely divine, nothing short of divine composition. This just takes your breath away. And it is, not duplicable. In fact, recently, another niche brand came out with something that's somewhat remotely close to this, but then again, nothing can live up to this. It's of course Fragrance du Bois Oud Jaune Intense. You guys, this fragrance is just an absolute gorgeous tropical paradise masterpiece. Okay, this one, the scent, this scent smells so absolutely 100% natural to the point that it transports you to this tropical coastline, filled with absolutely gorgeous tropical exotic flowers blooming, and you're waking up in the morning and you can smell the blooming tiare flowers, the jasmines, the ylang ylang. You can smell everything, and you are by some banana trees and you can smell a little bit of that banana leaf. A lot of the fragrance notes in here, they are natural, but there are a couple of synthetic ones, like the one that smells like banana leaf that gives you that tropical vibes. That's synthetic because banana leaf, you can't squeeze that and get oil out of it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, sure. Every fragrance uses a couple of synthetic notes that can't be made otherwise naturally, but most of the notes are natural. This just smells so divine, like a tropical goddess. This is very feminine smelling, this fragrance, although it's unisex, but it's super feminine to my nose, and it's absolutely gorgeous. It has the most gorgeous tropical exotic flowers like tiare flower. There's ylang ylang. I'm pretty sure this has tiare flower because I can smell it. Ylang ylang, I can smell the ylang ylang, which has a little bit of that, gorgeous yellow floral / banana vibes. And then this has that synthetic banana leaf note, which adds to that gorgeous tropical vibes in here. Definitely I can smell jasmines and other beautiful tropical florals in here. This has a good dose of vanilla that adds a, you know, tinge of sweetness, yet not too overpowering. This is just absolutely stunning. I don't know how else to describe this fragrance. It is just an absolute masterpiece, because this is why. Not only because it smells divine, but this is quite unique. Before I smelled this fragrance, I had never ever smelled anything like it in my life. Although now you are seeing perfumes come out that are made to smell a little bit like this. For example, Juliette Has a Gun just released a new one, Lust for Sun. That's, to me, kind of a copycat of this, although it is nothing close to this, but the vibe is the same, you know what I mean? That's the thing about masterpieces. They inspire copycats, you know, they inspire many copies, you know, dupes and such, but they can never be duplicated, never ever be duplicated. And they set these unstoppable, you know, wave in the motion where people want to make more like that. You know, it's one of the qualities about masterpieces. And, you know, masterpieces, when it comes to fragrances, when you first smell them, you just go, whoa, what was that? And I have never smelled anything like it before. What did I just smell? Did I just die and go to heaven? And that's why I'm calling this an absolute masterpiece. I've never smelled anything like it before it or since then, even though there are other similar ones now out there on the market. Now, next I have a very popular fragrance, well, for a reason, because it was a masterpiece. When it still is, but it's been so copied now that we've all gotten lost in its, you know, copies and dupes and other brands trying to make something similar. Again, because it was a trendsetter. Nothing like this composition had been done before this came out. This was quite the unique fragrance composition. Of course, the perfumer behind this fragrance is Quentin Biche, and he is a genius, nothing short of a genius. Of course, you know, it makes sense. This is, of course, Dellina by Parfums Temporally. You guys, before this fragrance, there was nothing like this. This was quite the breath of fresh air when it came out, because this, for the first time, utilized that sour green note in contrast with the rose, the gorgeous Turkish rose in here, and the sweetness in this fragrance cutting through. So it hadn't been done before, where you use this something sour like rhubarb and something sour / green like rhubarb to cut through a sweet floral fragrance. That hadn't been done. And this is the fragrance that did it. And it was so refreshingly new and gorgeous that people, everybody who knows anything about fragrances started to buy this fragrance. And now there are so many other brands who make perfumes like this one. For example, Carolina Herrera's Very Good Girl, you know, Angel Nova, I mean, name it. There are so many fragrance brands that are now doing the floral sweet cutting, you know, and using green and sour to cut through thing, you know what I mean? So this was quite the masterpiece, and it still is. No matter how many dupes and copies and whatever have been made after this, there's nothing that quite smell like Dellina. There's nothing that exactly gives you this exact vibe, you know. This is absolutely gorgeous, super feminine. It's a must-have in anybody's collection. Of course, it was so popular that the brand, the fragrance house, came out with two others. There's Dellina La Rosée, Dellina Exclusive, because it was that popular. So yeah, in my book, this is a masterpiece because it was an original. It set a trend, unstoppable trend, and the composition is absolutely unique when it was first launched. Of course, we all know this one, and love it or hate it, now people are starting to kind of hate on it because it was so trend-setting, it was so groundbreaking that there are literally some 5,000 plus dupes for this fragrance. That's how crazy the trend was with this fragrance, because it was so groundbreaking the way this composition was done. Nothing had been done anything like this ever before. And gosh, if you know the perfumer, you know why, because he's a genius. It's none other than, of course, the perfumer is Maison Kurkdjian. Of course, he's nothing short of a genius, and we all know that. And he, not only this, he actually is responsible for several masterpieces, but the one I'm talking about is the one that got it all started. This is Baccarat Rouge 540. Of course, when this fragrance was first released, you know, there had been nothing, like there was nothing like it anywhere. Okay, this is the first time. This is so unique that you couldn't box this fragrance, put it into a box. It wasn't floral, it wasn't a gourmand, it wasn't, you know, a green fragrance, it wasn't fresh, so it didn't quite fit into any kind of box. Sure, you know, it can be sort of classified as an amber floral, but still not quite. It's very difficult to describe this fragrance. It's really one that you have to smell. I mean, I think fragrance reviewers had a real hard time when it first came out trying to describe this, because it was nothing like what they had smelled in their lives before. And it was groundbreaking. I mean, not to mention the 5,000 plus flankers and dupes and copies, right? So this fragrance isn't sweet either. It's kind of smells sweet, but not sweet either. It's not green, it's not sour, it's not sweet, it's like not salty, it's like really nowhere. It's like, it's really difficult to describe. So really, this fragrance, this has a little bit of jasmine in there. There again, it doesn't smell anything like jasmine either. You know, it just is there in the composition, add into it. This has ambergris, which, you know, does add that sort of slight woody nuance and a little bit of a hint of a marine kind of vibe. And it has saffron, which adds that very uniquely saffron scent. Again, that's another one that's difficult to describe. Okay, you see where this is going. And this also has a little bit of that fur, which adds a little bit of that evergreeny conifer vibe to this fragrance, but very subtly. Okay, and really at the end of the day, this smells very unique. It's indescribable. Now those are all signs of a masterpiece. Indescribable, set an unstoppable trend. There are 5,000 plus dupes, copies, and whatever to this fragrance. And it was groundbreaking, absolutely unique. Nothing had been done like that before. But of course, now that it is so popular, it got so popular, it was so oversaturated, now people are starting to hate on this because they're smelling it everywhere. This and its 5,000 plus flankers, right? But we cannot deny the fact that this, in fact, was and is an absolute masterpiece. Of course, Maison Kurkdjian, you know, creator of masterpieces, in my opinion. Some of you may not agree with me, but I absolutely think this should be considered a masterpiece. This, again, when it first came out, nothing like this quite existed. This was quite uniquely new and breathtakingly, refreshingly unique fragrance composition when it first came out. Now, of course, there are thousands of similar smelling fragrances after this set the trend. Of course, this was, oh, well, actually this same house has another fragrance with the similar kind of notes, but again, this fragrance house did it. This is of course Kilian Love Don't Be Shy. Tell me you had smelled anything like this before you smelled this fragrance. No, you haven't, because this is that beautifully sweet, this is a sweet fragrance, by the way. This for the first time combined that soft gourmet notes like marshmallows, you know, that sort of like note with, you know, beautiful white florals like orange blossom. You know, the combination of marshmallow and orange blossom proved to be an absolutely delicious combination, you know. So nobody had a perfume that smelled like this. And I gotta tell you, Rihanna, quite genius, using this as her signature fragrance when it first came out, because she probably smelled like nobody else, you know. She was very unique. This, now of course, everybody's got a fragrance like this with marshmallows and orange blossoms and other white florals. This also has like honeysuckle, I believe, like a little bit of sugar, and vanilla, of course, you know, so many other fragrance notes. But the concept is to mix like citrus florals like orange blossom, neroli, with soft gourmet notes like marshmallows, you know, whipped cream. This doesn't have whipped cream, but you know, along those lines. Do you know what I mean? So this was very, very unique and huge compliment getter, by the way, every time I wear. Do you see the dent I've put into this fragrance? I don't know if you guys can see. It's down to here. So that's how far I've used up all that much. This is how much I've used this. I use this quite a lot. This is still a very special fragrance to me. I wear this when I want to smell absolutely feminine and gorgeous. Okay, I get huge compliments every time I wear this fragrance. Can't beat it. And yes, now even the Kilian has Princess, that's similar notes, but not quite like this. Then of course the extreme version of this, Love Don't Be Shy Extreme, which is beautiful like this, only like a little more elevated with a more heightened rose note in it. But this is what got started, so which is why this is a masterpiece. Now let me get the other Kilian out of the way, because this is a masterpiece. This is one of those fragrances that is an absolute masterpiece that's for some reason going under the radar of a lot of people, because my guess is that this was released years ago. From what I understand, it was a different composition. So they re-released this in this new composition that I consider a huge masterpiece in, was it last year? Yeah, very recently. So this, I have not smelled the original, that the previous version that is no longer there anymore. But this new version is absolutely gorgeous. And this is the first time, here's why this is a masterpiece. This is the first time I have smelled the oud rose combination in such a unique way. Usually, you know, when you mix rose with oud, you know, you get that very Middle Eastern kind of vibe, right? That's what we're all used to with the thousands of rose oud fragrances that are out there. This is nothing like it. This rose oud is completely different and completely unique. This is of course Kilian Rose Oud. You guys, this is the most absolutely heavenly rose oud fragrance I've ever smelled in my entire life. The oud in here is almost unrecognizable. You can smell that of the oud that we all know and love, but you can't tell it's coming from the oud because it's so well blended with some other genius ingredients, notes in here. For example, of course, with the gorgeous rose notes in here, several rose notes in here, you get lychee that's mixed in here, little bit giving that little fruity vibe, the gorgeous tropical fruity vibe. And then you get leather, which is absolutely luxurious and sultry. To add to the sultriness, you have the cypriol oil in here, which is one of the two most sexy herbal notes ever. There's Dellina and then there's cypriol oil. The cypriol oil in here, you guys, is adding this huge, gorgeous, lingering saltiness to this fragrance. And then there's that bucket of vanilla that is adding like sweetness and femininity to this fragrance. To me, this is a feminine leaning fragrance, but you know, it is of course unisex. All the power to you. If this is your scent and you're a man, you want to wear this, you know, by all means, it's a gorgeous fragrance. This, however, leans very, very divinely feminine to me, to my nose. And not only that, this is one of the most powerful fragrances in terms of sillage, projection, and lasting power. This is a 12-hour plus fragrance. This will be on your skin until you shower, and even after that, until you wash your clothes, and even after that. And this projects from this end of the room to the other end of the room, and it leaves an intoxicating sillage. However, it doesn't offend, and that is a hard thing to achieve. To have a powerful fragrance that's so gorgeous that people don't mind more of it, even though it's strong, right? So this is an absolute masterpiece that is flying under the radar. I don't understand, probably because of the confusion of the first version that was released. This is how much I've used it, just to show you. I've used that much. I am going through this like water. I've already bought a refill for this from Selfridges that I'm having ready on the side because I know I'm gonna drink this juice like crazy. Absolute masterpiece. Kilian really does make masterpieces in my opinion. So that Rose Oud was one of my top 5 for life, and here's another top 1 from my top 5 for life. This is an absolute genius of a fragrance. When I first smell this, I gotta tell you though, if you don't give it time, you need to give this fragrance time. First of all, when you get this fragrance, let it sit, let it air out before you wear it, and wear it several times, and you are going to fall in love head over heels. I have never smelled anything like this. Actually, in this case, I still haven't smelled anything like this anywhere. This really is the only one, because people haven't caught on to this. This is one of the niche fragrances, okay? Not like PDM, not like Kilian. Those are out there, even MFK. But this is a real niche house. So the word gets around slower when it's a super niche house, like, you know, because it's so niche and hidden, you know what I'm saying? Now this, I still haven't smelled anything else like this anywhere. It's absolutely genius. Not only that, those reasons I just told you, but another reason that this was a fantasy concept, fantasy note that was created by combining few other notes. I'll get to all that. This is Hibiscus Mahajad by Maison Crivelli. You guys, this fragrance house, in my opinion, is one of those groundbreaking, sort of unique, very, very exclusive type of fragrance house. And their, you know, their policies are like that too. They're very, you know, when it comes to marketing, they're very, very different about it as well. They're not all about, you know, being out there and kind of selling it mass market type of brand at all. So this, you guys, is made to smell like hibiscus flower. But if you've ever been anywhere near a tropical place and smelled hibiscus flowers, you know it doesn't have a scent. But I imagine the nectar of the hibiscus flower smells like this fragrance, you know, to bees and birds and butterflies and whatnot. Now, they got this hibiscus scent by combining rose and spearmint together, in my opinion. So, because those ingredients are in here, the notes. And this also has a gorgeous leather note, which adds luxury to any fragrance. And it's a very smooth leather notes that's well blended. And this has a bucket of vanilla. Rose and vanilla, anytime you put those two together, is a divine combination. And this uniqueness of this fragrance is just unparalleled, you guys. It's an absolute masterpiece. This is another one like Kilian Rose Oud that is an absolute powerful fragrance that doesn't offend. This is a 12-hour plus fragrance. You can't scrub it off of you, you know, your clothes, even if you wash after showering. It lasts forever. It projects from one end of the room to the other end of the room, leaves an intoxicating sillage, etc., etc. But this fragrance does not offend. People love the way this smells. Like, I get people following me and asking me. I can go into so many stories about different compliments I've received on these masterpieces I'm talking about. This one I get like a compliment every time. It's guaranteed. This and Kilian Rose Oud and, you know, all the other ones, really, thus far I talked about compliment getters every time I wear. If you want a special offer on this fragrance, which you will not be able to get anywhere else, check the description box. I have something for you down in the description box for this fragrance. And here is another well-known masterpiece. You don't need me to tell you why this is a masterpiece, because you guys, I cannot count on one hand, you know, the number of fragrance houses that tried to dupe this or copy this or came out with their own versions of this. Name it. This set off an unending cherry craze, cherry fragrance, I don't know, phenomenon. I don't know what to call it. It was a movement, you guys. I could call it a movement because it was that crazy. You know the cherry fragrances that came out left and right after this one because of this one. This is, of course, Tom Ford Lost Cherry. Tom Ford, the man himself, of course, the company is now under Estee Lauder. We all know that. But Tom Ford is one of those very unique and one-of-a-kind individuals. His brand, his, you know, his story, everything. So I'm not, you know, even a little bit surprised his fragrances are very different and unique. Now this set off this unending trend of cherry fragrances. People trying to come up with something like this, you know, this created a cherry craving that could not be satisfied no matter how many cherry fragrances were released. But nothing, in my opinion, is quite like this, honestly. This is where it all started. Tom Ford Lost Cherry. This is that gorgeous, delicious, dark cherry, juicy dark cherry with the booziness. There's booze in this fragrance. And it has like this balsamic flair to it. It's just this very sultry, boozy, dark cherry fragrance that smell absolutely amazing, and nobody had smelled anything like it before it came out. If in fact cherry fragrances did exist before that, which I'm sure, even in my collection I can't remember what's older than this, but do we remember any of those? No. Did they resonate as cherry fragrances? No. This is where the cherry craze started, okay? This is why this is a masterpiece. This composition is quite unique and unduplicable. It cannot be duplicated. This, you guys, in my opinion, is still the best cherry fragrance out on the market, even though I will say the performance of this fragrance isn't the best, which I wish it had been, you know, some ingredient had been put in there and the strength of it would have been a little better, but still doesn't take away from the fact that this is quite the masterpiece, Tom Ford Lost Cherry. This is the mother of all gourmand fragrances, or should be, okay? This fragrance is so delicious and so unique and so one of a kind, so indescribable, you know, like I just don't know if there's anything else like this before, that came out before or after this. This is, of course, Italica by Xerjoff. Xerjoff is that fragrance house that does tend to create absolutely unique, very, very unique DNA. They have, you know, fragrances with that very unique DNA. And we know a Xerjoff fragrance when we smell it, because we know that Xerjoff unique DNA. And this is no different. This, you guys, is the most delicious gourmand fragrance to ever have existed. Some people don't understand this, people who don't really know fragrances, you know, they just wear fragrances but don't really get it. even though they think they do. Honestly, I'm not afraid to say that. People who don't understand this fragrance don't really know fragrances, period. This fragrance is absolutely delicious. This, to describe simply, this smells like a delicious almond sugar cookie or snickerdoodle type cookie dipped in milk, sprayed with a little musk. I know it sounds delicious, like the almond cookie, sugar cookie with the milk. This has all those notes, like it's got sweetness. It's a very sweet fragrance, by the way. It has almond, it has lactonic, the milk, which adds yumminess to this fragrance. Absolutely gorgeous. This has a huge dose of musk, which makes it a very perfume type of, version of the deliciousness. Some people think that this smells exactly like food. It doesn't, you guys. I mean, if they think that they haven't eaten food before, smelled food before, yes, this has that resemblance, but it's definitely the perfume version. And you just smelled edible when you wear this. And men find this absolutely irresistible and delicious. My husband loves this fragrance. Again, he wants to take a piece out of my arm when I wear this. It's absolutely delicious. It's a masterpiece because nothing like this exists even now. And I don't think you can duplicate this fragrance. If you could, you would have duplicates out there. You would have dupes out there. Genius, masterpiece, one of a kind, must have, gourmand, the quintessential mother of all gourmand fragrances. I think overall I can call a masterpiece maker because their DNA is just as unique as what I described about Xerjoff, how they have a very unique DNA. Same with this fragrance house. The DNA of this fragrance house is very recognizable, very to be unique to them. And they make feminine leaning and masculine leaning fragrances and unisex fragrances that are just beyond description, I mean, the best way to put it. And this one I have in my hand is one of their latest releases, actually their latest release here. This is so genius because nobody thought of this before. They did this. And this smells absolutely fresh and sexy. Do you know how hard it is to make a fresh fragrance that smells super sexy? Yeah, it's not easy. So here it is. This is M.Micallef GNTonic or GNTonic. This, you guys, is a masterpiece. The more I thought about it, the more I decided that it is, because when my husband and I first received this is one of my husband's favorites, okay? He is not an oversprayer, otherwise, he wears this all the time. I know it should be down to like there by now, but he only spritz a few times and I can still smell it pretty much all day. But I need to teach him how to overspray, you know what I mean? Because that way he can kill the whole room. I'm just kidding. But this one, you guys, is this absolute genius concept. So this smells refreshing, like a cool gin and tonic on a very blazing hot summer day. But it's like the sexy version of it. If you could take a gin and tonic, the freshness of it, and you add citrus to it and everything, and somehow you smell sexy, absolutely hot. This fragrance smells hot. There's this indescribable burst of freshness about this fragrance that's different. Now see, a lot of the fresh fragrances, so-called fresh fragrances, the freshness comes from the citruses, right? Like it smells citrusy, oh great, fresh, yada yada, like DNG light blue, right? Fresh, great. And then you add some musk to it, call it a day. Sure, it's fresh. It's kind of sexy because it's fresh and makes you smell kind of clean. But it doesn't ever smell that sort of sultry, the sexy, like the raw sexy. It's not like that. It smells sexy because kind of attractive because you smell clean, right? But this is more than that. Yeah, you smell clean, but you also smell sexy, especially on a man. So this This, you guys, isn't just your citrus fresh type of fragrance. Yes, there are some amazing citruses in here that in the opening that, you know, very effervescent. And then this has, I think, pink pepper too in the opening, which like gives you like this happy feelings. And then you get that gin and tonic vibes in the middle, you guys, that just, it has this sultriness about it. Some, you know, the man's version of sultry. Like, can we call men sultry? No, not really. The really super raw kind of magnetism kind of thing in the middle happening. Smells like a fizzing gin and tonic, really, but the sexy version of it. And this has some cypriol oil, I believe, adding that's I think where some of that sexiness comes from, other than the musks too. That it has actually like an herbal, like cypriol oil, I think is the herbal note in here that adds to that, just like the allure of this fragrance, you guys. Even the citruses in here, you know, there are citruses like bitter orange that makes it very sultry. There's ginger with that special zing that only ginger has, do you know what I mean? And it has a little bit of peppermint adding to that gin and tonic vibes. Like, it's a masterpiece. It's a concept that no one else thought of, that is absolutely different. You know, the guy who's wearing this fragrance is going to smell absolutely like that James Bond guy, you know, holding his gin and tonic, wearing a suit, you know, in the bar if it's at nighttime. And if it's daytime, he's playing golf, wearing this in a blazing hot summer day. You guys, by the way, if you want a discount on this fragrance, I have it down in the description box. Go to the M.Micallef website, I'll link it down there, and you can get a nice discount on this. M.Micallef sells their fragrances cheaper on their website than what the distributors get it for. And on top of it, when you order from M.Micallef, not only do you get free shipping and that 10% discount with my code, but also they throw in amazing huge deluxe travel sprays and stuff. You get amazing goodies. So yeah, go ahead and, you know, use that if you want to get that fragrance for Father's Day. I can't think of anything better. Love it. So the last fragrance in my hands is from a very unique and kind of weird fragrance house. Even the way they sell fragrances, it's kind of different. You have to like go through their Facebook and everything. But I tell you, I am calling this one a masterpiece because it's so darn unique, and I don't think I've ever smelled anything like it. It's a very luxurious fragrance house. Their packaging, their everything, like the concept, all the inspiration behind it, everything is always so elite. This is none other than EBK Paris Ruby and Vanilla Intense. You guys, this one is just a masterpiece because no one thought of something like this. This is not your typical vanilla fragrance. It's not even really a vanilla fragrance per se, in my opinion. They put something in here, obviously a synthetic note, that smells like red velvet. I know it doesn't make sense to you, but because colors don't have a scent, but velvet definitely has a scent, right? It smells like velvet, but you think in particular about red velvet. Before I even read the inspiration behind this fragrance, which happens to be the French opera house, you know, and all that, which has all red velvet, obviously, I thought of, I've been to Louis XIV's palace, you know, Versailles in France, and there in his bedchamber there's red velvet, and that's kind of what reminded me. This has this very royal vibes about this, like the Louis XIV kind of vibes, the opera house vibes, the very elite vibes about this fragrance. This is a vanilla fragrance, but with that velvet fabric, velvet sort of scent, velvety notes they call it in here, and it smells like what velvet feels. Okay, so I think it's a masterpiece for that reason, because there's no other fragrance quite like this that I know of anywhere. So you guys, that's it. Those are the fragrances so far in my 400 plus collection that I think are masterpieces. I of course could not include, there are so many others that I wanted to include. For example, Maison Kilian himself has many other fragrances that I would consider masterpieces, like 724, which I think is the most unique aldehydic fragrance I've ever smelled. Never smelled anything like it before. It's so crisp. And then Oud Satin Mood, which is also by him, which I think set a trend of rose oud fragrances. Obviously, I have many more that I want to, and I have several from M.Micallef, like Note Vanille, which I think is a groundbreaking vanilla from any fragrance house. I could go on, but I had to kind of finalize it down to at least 10 fragrances because I didn't want to do like a lengthy video. Let me know down in the comment section if you want to see a part 2 of this masterpieces fragrance video, because I don't want to be unfair. There are other masterpieces out there that I want to talk about desperately. If you want to see a part 2 of this, let me know down in the comment section. What do you guys think? You guys agree with me about these masterpieces here? And let me know down in the comment section what you think are masterpiece fragrances that I didn't mention in this video. I hope you enjoyed this video, you guys. If you did, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram and TikTok, where I post a lot of really short, fun content. I will see you guys in my next video.